Yeah, Jennie, it is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It is November 16th, episode 98. Here we are.
98.
Gathered together, and this is a big episode.
Yeah.
Because not only are we still riding high from yesterday's release of the Marriage Devotional, but now we are in this amazing celebration of marriage. So every episode for the next while, and obviously we already kicked this off, we're talking about marriage. We're bringing some friends in. We're taking different aspects of marriage, talking about them. Today's focus is leading a marriage in the midst of a move of God.
Yeah.
And we have on the episode today, Dallas Jenkins and Amanda Jenkins, the creators of The Chosen. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
My gosh. It's incredible. This is a beautiful
We love The
podcast.
Chosen. We love it. Season 3, finally. Goodness gracious. It's like, when is this season ever coming around? Last thing we saw, Jesus gives this Sermon on the Mount. I loved him studying. Dallas told me, by the way, that some of the most criticized moments of The Chosen ever is Jesus doing sermon preparation with Matthew.
Really?
He said that people don't want to see Jesus working over different words.
Wow.
They said, the haters are going to say it's Photoshop, but, that Jesus shouldn't have to practice. But he was fully man. He was human like we are.
Yeah.
So in his humanity,
he was involving Matthew in the process.
Which is so brilliant because, Matthew gives the longest version of the Sermon on the Mount. And the Beatitudes are there. So to have Matthew working with him on it, you're going to need that tablet, bro. Bring it. Bring that tablet, Matthew.
I love it.
But he said that's the biggest criticized moment of The Chosen.
That's interesting.
People don't want to see Jesus practicing a sermon. Okay, so I do.
I need help.
I do. And I find it relatable. We have a high priest who can sympathize us with our weaknesses because he was tested in all points yet didn't sin.
Yeah.
Hello. He was hungry. He had to go number 2.
Did he ever
had to brush his teeth.
If Jesus was hungry, but did he ever get hangry?
Well, we know he got hungry because he was 40 days without food in the wilderness.
And we know that he got angry because he turned over the tables in the money changers' tables.
I'm excited to see that episode when that comes out.
But was it ever combined, hunger and anger?
I'm excited to see when they try to throw Jesus off the cliff when he announces his deity in Nazareth. I'm excited to see the crucifixion. I can't wait to see The Chosen take us on all this ride.
Yeah.
I'm also excited about how much Old Testament backstory we're going to get and what stories they're going to bring. Like the way they brought Nicodemus' episode back to Joshua and Moses making the brass serpent.
Right.
The way they Jacob's well for the Samaritan woman. I mean, there's so much Old Testament backstory, and that's what Dallas is really brilliant about, is connecting the dots and making you want to read the Bible more.
Right.
The man at the pool of Bethesda, the angels during the waters. So what Old Testament story would be the most fun? It would be cool to see David, how he renders David. And there's going to be endless spin-off opportunities.
Yeah, it's the Bible.
Dude, Yo danzo como David.
The Bible's living.
I dance like David danced.
But that, I think, is something that's been so beautiful to see through The Chosen, is people who will write letters, and he'll sometimes share letters, but just people who say, like, I don't read the Bible, or hadn't read the Bible, started watching The Chosen, and I just felt a hunger for the Word, and now I'm reading the Word, and I've given my life to Christ. And just like the ripple effects of something like this that really does just create in someone a hunger to know God more, to know Jesus more.
Yeah.
And that's something that's so beautiful from all this.
Well, I've known Dallas for quite a while. We met a long time ago.
Long time.
But been just amazing to watch God work through their lives. And I think what's cool about today is you're going to get to see a backside of the effect of the intensity of The Chosen has had on their marriage.
Yeah.
Because there's probably a lot of filmmakers out there going, I wish I was as successful as Dallas. Oh, must be nice. And he's going to talk about candidly, this last season has been the most taxing on their marriage, the most spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
It's a lesson to you. If you're not in a season of huge affluence now, build up the home front, build up your soul.
Yeah.
Because if and when God does expose you to more, there's more pushback, there's more demand, there's more difficulty, more darkness, and you're going to need to be ready for it.
Yeah.
If you get a ton of branches on your trees, limbs, if you don't have a root system, it's going to fall over. So build up your roots now before you spread out your branches wide.
Great.
Jennie, I love you.
I love you too, Levi.
I love you so much.
I love you too
let's
so
make out
much.
later. Joking, but not. I do want to say thank you for those of you listening, commenting. Every little comment, post, like, share makes a difference. I love it when I open up Instagram and see someone sharing that this episode really encouraged them.
Yeah.
You know, people have been telling me, oh, I love the episode with your dad. I love the episode with Taya from Hillsong United. I love when people post those episodes. I just love it.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Whether you're seeing on the Access More app or on iTunes or Spotify or on YouTube, which this is on as well. If you're listening, you can watch. If you're watching, you can listen.
Yeah.
I like them both.
Yeah, all the things.
Audio is cool.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. Like when I'm running, I don't watch a podcast. I would trip on a route.
A route.
A route.
A single route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have this Garmin watch and I'll download a bunch of episodes to it. They're not ours.
What will you
I know an episode ours. I'm like just running, listening.
What will you listen to when you run?
It's a secret. It's a trademark.
Oh.
You have to subscribe to my Brass Tacks emails. Maybe I'll put that in there this month. They are hounding me because I need to send a couple Brass Tacks recommendations.
Those are amazing, by the way.
Thank you very much. Those are my favorite things. And I assemble them and collect them and send them out to the world.
Because you like to share. You like to share things that you've enjoyed. And I think that's really awesome.
Dallas and I are a lot alike in that way.
Yeah, we'll find that out in this episode.
Stick to the end. You'll hear Dallas. Why Dallas and I might be twins separated at birth. He's a tall man. He's a tall man. He's taller than you think. You don't think he's that tall. Then you meet him, you're like, oh, you're an avatar.
How tall is he, do you think?
He's not quite Joel Houston, but he's tall.
Wow.
He's a tall man. He's a good-looking man. He's tall and good-looking. He's ruddy and handsome. Amanda's sweet, too, isn't she?
Yeah, she's really great.
A pistol. She's a live wire. They give some very helpful tips. Look,
very helpful.
If you've ever gotten in a fight after a vacation, before a trip, before your husband left for a week of being in
the middle of a vacation,
travel nurse. Yeah, I have 3 takeaways from this episode I'm already going to put into practice in my life.
Good.
About time. Wow, Jennie.
I wrote notes too. Don't worry, everybody.
That's good. No, this is going to help our marriage get better.
It's actually very helpful.
They give some of their Mount Rushmore of marriage tips.
They've been married 24 years.
Hello.
So they've learned some things.
A hot minute, you might say. Mm-hmm. So a couple things. The marriage devotional's out. The Audible's out. That's Jennie and I both in it. And there's some stuff in the Audible that's not in regular.
Secrets.
Right?
Yes. In
the marriage devotional, which is 52 days to strengthen the soul of your marriage, you can, with your spouse, with your fiance, whether you've been married 50 years or 15 minutes, it's going to help you. It's also a great gift if you're looking for a marriage gift. It's hardcover. Put it in someone's hands. I almost burped. Could you tell? Could you tell?
That was really rough.
It was like a violent ride. You're mocking me.
Sorry.
Are you having like hot flashes? You're fanning yourself.
Something's happening. I'm just very hot.
Something's happening? What?
Well, I'm also kind of stuffy.
Yeah, you're a little sick. Bless your heart. Okay, but you didn't cough the whole episode?
Oh, I used my cough button.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jennie has a cough button. I didn't use mine once.
Well, that's nice. Congratulations.
Okay, so the marriage devotional's out. Audible has Jennie and I and stuff you're not going to get in the regular. You could listen to it on the way to a date night.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it'd be good, right? Mm-hmm. Just refresh it, talk about it, read it by yourselves, read it together. I'm going to go through it with you because there's so many verses in there, prayers, activities. Mm-hmm. It's good stuff. And then The Chosen has a cinematic, theatrical release of the first 2 episodes in theaters this Friday.
Yeah.
2 days from now.
18th.
Hey, what are you doing on Friday? You want to go see The Chosen with me?
Yes.
Sexy time? That's what they said it has in it. I don't know what that means, but I'm excited for what's going to come after the episode when you and I have sexy time.
Wow. TMI.
Or is it? IMT. It's wonderful. Okay. Since the last podcast, the Jenkins got a dog. I never asked them about that.
Man.
All right. So, we'll have to have them back on, find out about the dog. Watch, they're like, it died. Thanks for bringing it up.
Oh my gosh. That's horrible.
Since the last episode, our dog died. Right? Oh. No, I'm not speaking that over them.
No.
Okay. Please enjoy this episode with the creators of The Chosen, Dallas and Amanda Jenkins. Well, welcome back to Hey, It's the Luskos for Dallas. And Amanda, welcome to Hey, It's the Luskos.
Thank you.
I've brought back an improvement to my to my status. So.
We're so glad to have you too. Thank you for being here with us today.
Oh my gosh.
I appreciate
Oh my gosh. I just said.
gosh.
I meant oh my gosh. Said oh my gosh. Goodness gracious. Man, you guys are, at the time we're recording this, we're moving quickly towards November 18th, which is the highly anticipated season 3 of The Chosen.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited.
Man.
Yeah, I'm no longer Dallas the friend, Dallas the guy you might want to know how he's doing. It's now Dallas the guy with the information on season 3.
Yeah.
Deliverer of
Yes. Hi, nice to meet you. So
you
when's
feel
season 3
used?
coming out?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm just exploited for season 3.
People
games
just
now.
want screeners. People want spoilers. People want just to know what is going on in this episode. And it's you guys are doing something very different. I mean, obviously you did it for the Christmas special, but you guys are actually doing a theatrical release for the first 2 episodes.
Yeah. So on November 18th, Friday night, there's going to be 1 and 2. Episodes 1 and 2 will be released together. And not stitched together like they're a movie, but just back to back. And you can watch them in theaters. And last year when we did it with the Christmas special, we weren't even really trying. We just thought this would be fun. We're going to do a 2-night only, 1 screening per night, and it's a new episode, and then a collection of worship music videos from some of our favorite friends and musicians. And we didn't think it was a traditional theatrical release on any level. It was just going to be a 2-night thing, kind of a special event. Let's see if people will gather. We didn't spend any money on the marketing or anything. And when we announced it to our crowd, it sold out across the country in 2 hours. And so Fathom Events, which does this, they normally do specialty events, and they're like, well, the theaters want to keep going. We want to add nights. So it ended up being like over the course of 10 to 14 nights or something like that, ended up doing $13 million in box office. And I'm not saying that to out of any arrogance. It was just like whoa, we weren't even trying. Clearly people want this kind of thing, and it would be fun to do it in theaters, and never been done before. TV shows don't release in theaters like that. So, well, why not? We've done everything else a little crazy and new, and Isaiah 43:19, behold, I'm doing a new thing, seems to be our motto from day one. So,
Amen.
All right, let's do a theatrical release for episodes 1 and 2. So, seems to be working.
Which is so cool because, I mean, like, there's been TV shows people have been obsessed with forever. I mean, I remember we would get together with friends to watch 24 episode by episode. Lost was that way. But none of them ever really branched out and did what you're doing, taking the launch of a new season into the movie theater. Really, it's groundbreaking territory just in all of TV and cinema now, right?
Yeah, and I think that's part of the fun thing about The Chosen from the beginning is, I mean, you've experienced this throughout your life, Levi, and I grew up in the Christian world. Christian media is almost always kind of a step behind the ideas and the innovations of the world, and so we end up borrowing from them their really great ideas. If not their content and their message, we borrow from them their ideas, because they do it really well. And I always thought, even growing up, like, wouldn't it be fun if we occasionally did something first, like we kind of broke the mold a little bit. And now I have to admit, some of the things that have happened with The Chosen, I didn't intend for them to break the mold. I'm not I'm not a genius who, for every single idea we've had, has been crafted from my brain. Our distribution partners have been great. They have good ideas. They're fresh. But also some of it's just been out of necessity or out of, we have no other choice. And all right, let's try this. And it's been awesome because it shows we're kind of following God's lead, and he's always first, not to sound cliche, but and I think with this project, he's been kind of forging the path, and we're like, yeah, let's go through that. And it turns out it's never been done before.
Well, I think at first we were like, ugh, what? And then
that doesn't make sense.
And you're like, oh my gosh, this is cool. It's like an adventure that.
Yeah.
Well, how beautiful is that? Because, I mean, Levi and I were reading through the Bible in a year, and when we were in like Genesis, and even when they were building the temple, like it would describe God as the designer, and he would bring in these master artisans and architects, and there's just beauty and design behind everything God has done. And the fact that you guys have opened up your lives to let God lead you, like, he is the designer. He is the OG, like, creator, designer, planner. So for you guys to surrender to what he's doing, that is innovative. That is like walking in something brand new. And it's just so beautiful to get to see it, like, in real life, in both of you and your team, willing vessels to just follow God. It's so amazing.
Yeah, it's been a blessed experience to be part of that. What we try to share with people is obviously our specific experience isn't translatable, but the experience of just surrendering and going, okay, we're responsible for the loaves and fishes to start, but that multiplication or lack thereof is really not up to us, and that's been the journey we've been on, and it's a great journey. And you guys have been through it as well, through tragedy, through success, where you're just like, we have no other choice but to depend and to abide. That's the big word for Amanda is abide, and so we're trying to do that. I'm not great at it, but God's forcing us to be better at it at least.
Yes, and thank you guys for being obedient.
Well, Jennie and I are such big fans of the show personally, and fans of you guys and your marriage and your life, and that's where we are going to get to in this conversation, bringing these episodes somewhere back to marriage. Somewhere we're kind of camped out there for a little bit, and I think especially for people, the millions around the world who have been touched by the show, to then see really it is the outcome of a strong marriage. We have that conviction. Psalm 128 talks about when your wife's like a fruitful vine, when your kids are like olive plants around the table, when you fear God, then Jerusalem gets to be peaceful. Then Israel gets to be blessed. And I believe that's where God touches the world. Yeah. And so, of course, coming back to that with you guys is going to be really helpful for people. But I did want to ask, because we are only 2 days away, can we get any expectation for season 3 where we're going? I don't want spoilers, but just what are you comfortable saying?
Well, here's what's funny. As you were talking just now, I was thinking, it's funny what you're saying, because season 3, one of the dominant storylines is marriage. And it begins in episodes 1 and 2. In fact, you see a little sexy time, too, in episodes 1. No, yeah. I mean, it's a Jesus show version of sexy time, but
I love that.
I'm trying to think, who could it be?
That.
Could it be? Are we going to John 8?
Peter and Eden.
Oh, could it be Peter?
Yeah, no, it's for sure Simon and Eden.
Okay.
And this season, and I've told you this, Levi, when we ran into each other recently, that I think season 3 is like almost as though you guys were part of it. Because I mean, we take you through a lot of the things you guys talk about, a lot of the things you guys deal with in marriage through the eyes of Simon and Eden. What it's like to follow Jesus when you started it thinking, this is great. And Jesus, as you know, in season 1, episode 8, Jesus pulls Eden aside and has a specific conversation with her saying, I see you. And this ministry sacrifice that I'm asking your husband to make is just as much of a sacrifice from you. And I'm not going to ask you of something that I'm not also asking Simon of something. And so she's like, beautiful. And this is wonderful. And then it actually happens. And then your husband's away for a while, or then you experience difficulty and the Messiah doesn't make it all better right away. Well, then what? Are you willing to still follow and trust? And they go through that this year in a big way. But in the first 2 episodes, you see Simon coming back from a trip. And when you come back from a trip,
conjugal
good
visit.
And bad. Yeah. The good thing is you get a little.
Maybe.
Oh wow! Depending on how things have been going at home. Yeah.
Yeah, you get a little sexy time. Usually after you plug into the kids for a couple hours
and mow the lawn. You got to do all the things you got to do. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then, but the bad news is re-entry. We call it re-entry is one of the most difficult things in marriage. Whenever one of the spouses has been gone for a period of time, and you come back. And you're so happy to see each other, but there's expectations, and
there are expectations you don't even know you have. You know that you're all of a sudden you've tripped into some kind of a conflict, and you're like, I don't even know how I got here. I was just so excited you were coming home, and now I'm so mad at you.
Oh, so true.
So learning to detangle that and figure out how that works and how to avoid it.
So we cover a lot of it in season 3. So you're asking. This is a long answer to your question, but you're asking for a little spoiler. But you right off the bat in season 3, these first 2 episodes that are coming in theaters, we dig into marital issues, both fun and not so fun.
Wow. So it's going to hit people where they live. I mean, you're talking about police officers who are out for a while, people who pilots. You think about people who travel for work,
military spouses.
And that is real, and so we all deal with that on some level. It's not just, and I love that this is a story about Jesus, but it's hitting people right where we live. So it is relatable. Okay, well let's get into all that. I want to come back to that reentry thing because you guys deal with that, no doubt, in a big way.
Yeah.
I know we sure do.
Yeah.
This is going to turn into counseling in a minute. Here, we're going to be asking for some wisdom. But I thought since we had so much time with Dallas back, that was actually, believe it or not, Dallas, that was 43 episodes ago. We had you, episode 56. On the podcast.
Wow.
Very, very, very fun. Now this is episode 98 we're on now, close to 100. But Amanda, we thought we'd get to know you a little bit.
Yes.
Maybe just what's on the back of your baseball card, a little bit of your story. I know you guys met in college, but there's a lot we don't know about you.
I'm just supposed to go. I'm just supposed to.
You're supposed to just tell us about who Amanda Jenkins is.
Oh gosh, I'm a mom of 4 kids. I think that's my beating heart for sure. That's where my priority's been for the last 21 years. Is our oldest, and kids have a lot of issues, and so that's where I'm camped out mostly all the time is with my kids. But in recent years, we've gotten to work together on this thing because I kind of tripped into writing about a decade ago. I didn't really mean to, but God was really convicting me of some things that I didn't want to deal with, and so I kind of started to journal, and it was really just, when you journal, it's kind of just the raw truth of stuff. Yeah. And
you were watching Sex and the City at the time, and you loved Bridget Jones' Diary.
And so I'm married to a filmmaker, so I was kind of writing in a fun way, I suppose, but it was pretty heart-wrenching as well. But yeah, it followed kind of some outlines of some things I was watching, and so I don't know if you saw it at some point, but he was like, oh, you're writing a book. And I was like, oh, no, this is like super private, like diary stuff. It's not a book. And then God was like, oh, it's a book.
Oopsies.
And it's all my vices and struggles and things God was really just dismantling in my life. So went through that over the course of a number of years and really loved it. And
the book got released, and it's Confessions of a Raging Perfectionist. It was released through Tyndale and had a big impact on a lot of people, especially women.
Wow.
But that, real quick, just insert it here, the raw honesty of all of that. I mean, there's a chapter on our adoption. We adopted our 4th child, and there's a moment where she says, like, I realized I didn't like my orphan. Like, she says things like that in the book, and it just was such a release valve, not only for her, but for readers. And that bled into The Chosen. I mean, meaning our lives kind of became about, like, we're just going to be raw and authentic. She mentioned in a chapter, she talked about my struggle with pornography. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know you were going there.
That's how it's going to be. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, be authentic, be raw.
You're with me.
Oh,
not that raw.
I meant about you.
Yeah. I was talking about you. Yeah. You leave my stuff out of it.
Yeah. So, but that was for sure a tipping point in our marriage and in our kind of our path of we're going to do everything kind of with as much authenticity as is appropriate.
Well, and the response to it is the first time that we really saw people aren't drawn to a pretty picture. They're drawn to what's familiar. And usually that's not very pretty. And so I, in always trying to kind of keep things presentable, was keeping people at a distance. And as soon as this book was released, it was scary for a minute, but the result was people were like, oh my goodness, this was such a balm to my soul because me too. Wow. And and so that you get kind of an instant training of like, oh, this is evangelism. It's not presenting, well, look what Jesus has done for me, I have it together. It's no, look what Jesus is continually doing for me. He's continually rescuing me from myself, from sin, from struggle. And so that, it just changed us. It was just a culture shift in our marriage of, I mean, you've always kind of been so transparent that I'd be like, be quiet. I think we got on the same page a little bit more at that point of just what it means to be authentic and honest. And
your writing journey has continued, right, Amanda?
Say that again?
Your writing journey has continued because you're now on the 3rd volume of the Chosen devotionals.
Right.
Which is right there.
He has them at the Yeah, of course. Dallas always has them right there. So it just was this organic fit that our heart is that not only do people gather for the show, but we want the show to really push them to the Bible. That's what we actually care about. And so we're like, okay, what can we do? Because people wanted more once the season was done and they're waiting for the next one. They wanted more. And so it just made sense for us to give them more. So we actually talk about the books aren't, the show doesn't supplement the books. I'm sorry, the books don't supplement the show. It's the other way around because we want the books to be about Scripture, actually. So they're not the show. They're actually Scripture. And that's where we care. That's what we want.
We use the show as illustrations, to the deeper truths of Scripture. But she does the Chosen devotionals. So the first 3, season 1, season 2, season 3 have all been done. She's a primary writer for our Bible studies, our Chosen Bible studies. That the first 2 seasons have been out. Third season's coming. Bible studies coming out next year. All of our extra written material she's in charge of.
We have a kids devotional book, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Like a kids activity book. The first 2 are already out. We have a kids devotional coming out soon. We have a teen devotional that's being written right now. All just to kind of satisfy what we're hearing from people. It's not like we're like, all right, we can get more out there. It's people are coming to us saying, my 15-year-old has been changed by the show. And so we'd love to then help disciple, further. Now, the best discipleship is through the local church and through their parents, of course. But since the show seems to be resonating so much with them, it's like, okay, well, let's provide this as well. So she's in charge of all of that. So full-time mom, full-time author now.
That's incredible.
Okay, backing up further a little bit, Amanda, where did you grow up? Did you grow up knowing Jesus? Was there a dramatic conversion later on? Like what's the Amanda Jenkins journey?
Yeah, I think the dramatic really came through becoming a more authentic person because I was raised in the church. I have great parents. I was a good girl, and so I was a Pharisee, I think. I think that's really where I landed, just thinking I was pretty judgmental and hard on people who were struggling because I just didn't understand it really. And then that was like, God's like, you've got a lot to work on here. So, and
we watched Dog the Bounty Hunter together.
Oh my goodness.
And Dog the Bounty Hunter loved the least of these so much for Jesus. We were like,
well, he was so rough around the edges, but he loves Jesus and knows Jesus. And so that was fascinating to me that like somebody could be that rough and not like what I thought a good Christian was having such impact on people that were desperate. And a number of things radically changed the way that we saw Jesus and ourselves and other people. So I would say that came in my 20s, but I had a great family. I had smooth sailing. I until about 25 or so, and kids and all the hardship that comes with that. So
that's real.
How old were you two when you got married?
22 and 21.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm a year older. We met at Bible college in Minnesota. That's where she's from. I'm from Chicago area. And so we were going to Northwestern Bible College in St. Paul. And that's where we met. My roommate was in love with her. And I had a girlfriend at the time, but then he was in love with her and I was rooting for him at first. And then I was like,
you stopped rooting for him. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That is awesome. I love that.
And did you like Dallas right away, Amanda?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't like that he had a girlfriend, so I was hanging out with the friend and liking him.
Biding your time.
And he had the girlfriend. So it was, we finally figured it out.
Yeah.
And what were you thinking life was going to look like post-Bible college? Did you have like a career arc or dreams in your heart at that point, Amanda?
I wanted to be a mom. I always knew I was going to be a mom. And so I liked working. I wasn't quite ready to be a mom when I became a mom. It came a little sooner than I was ready for. But no, that's what I wanted to do. And so I got to stay home with my kids. That was a huge blessing. It was hard too, but it was a huge blessing. And my dreams really honestly became Dallas's dreams, largely just because I had such a heart for the entertainment community. So that started to feel like really our calling, our mission field. So we left really young together and moved out to LA and lived there for a decade. And that's where we established our friendships and our circles and the way that we did things as a couple. And that has become a real just love for us, a desire for that community. I think we're raised to go as far away from Hollywood as you can, but our hearts are actually for those people and for that community. So we loved that time of life.
And kids came early. How many years into the marriage was Sam born?
2 years. 2 years.
2 years in, you got pregnant, right? It was like, so.
Yeah.
And were you guys thinking it would be longer?
You were ready. I just wasn't. We got to that point, and I was like, I like my job. I'm working with my friends. I don't want to be just at home yet. So, but God knew. So I was at home, and by the time he came around, I was ready for it. So,
well, we both had the
Got a
same
good 9 months to
expectation.
rest.
We thought we'd wait 5 years, get to travel, get to have some time to ourselves, and we got pregnant within the first year of marriage.
Well, and I was 22, and you were 21.
So we were very young, and but God knows exactly. And then you get the benefit on the backside of you'll be younger when your kids are all
some energy when they're.
Young
they're out of the house,
grandparents.
a little bit of energy.
Yeah, young grandparents.
Yeah, young grandparents, yes.
Well, I love that. And I love that you guys have such a clear, strong, shining, healthy marriage, and I think I mentioned to you, Dallas, I just was so blessed when I see one of the award shows when the Chosen, whether I think it was Caleb, when you guys first were given an award, and to show your kids crying, your wife, like just, there was such a sense of we're a part of this all together, one of the stories that haunts me that comes out of the Apollo program was one of the astronauts went to the moon, and when he came back, was sitting out with his little daughter in the backyard, and they were looking up at the moon. He had just literally walked on it, and he goes, "Do you have any questions?" And she goes, "Yeah, Dad. Can we go camping now?" There was a sense in which it was like, the moon is great, Dad, but what about like me? There was like a lot of divorces came out of that era. They put their career ahead of their family, and you guys have shown that you don't have to choose that, that you can prioritize your marriage and your kids in the midst of it, and to watch their beaming faces, that they weren't like, well, yeah, great, you're getting an award, Dad, but we haven't seen you for the last couple of years. Like, you guys have fought for that to not take place.
Yeah, and a key part of that is that, I think you know this, but I've talked about this publicly a lot, is that The Chosen was birthed from failure. My movie bombed, and around that same time, we were having some difficulties in my job. I was working at a church, and we ultimately decided. I left my job. I resigned and kind of went all in on The Chosen and the crowdfunding thing. But at the time I did it, nothing had happened yet. The crowdfunding hadn't happened yet. And so there was about 4 months where I didn't have income and we didn't have benefits. We then embraced, Christian health share ministry, Samaritan, which was amazing. And, but I mean, we involved our kids in that process. See, that was the key, is we didn't just involve our kids in the win and in the fun and what ended up happening. It was, we said, this is why Dad is doing this. It's going to be difficult. But we believe it's the right thing, and we do hard things. When we believe God is calling us to something hard, we do it, even though it doesn't make a lot of sense. And so, even what's cool is, I remember the head of Samaritan Ministries said to me, make sure you include your kids in this challenging process, because they're going to get to see what God does. And as soon as I left my job, and as soon as we had no benefits but switched to this health share ministry, we had more medical emergencies and issues than we'd had in the previous 20 years combined. God. I'm telling you, for a month and a half, I had an emergency appendectomy. My daughter shattered her collarbone. My other daughter had an internal issue. Yeah.
Gotcha. An issue of blood for 12 years. No, I'm just kidding.
And it was unbelievable. And so all of a sudden we have 6 figures worth of medical bills. And we told our kids, all right, this is what's happening, and we're in this.
Here's why we can't go to McDonald's.
Yeah. Here's the issue. But we believe God's gonna be part of this, and provide, and so we included them in that process. So then when the medical bills all got covered, and then when The Chosen slowly started to grow, and then when it exploded, they were part of that too, and that became a beautiful, spiritual, enriching experience for them, because we hadn't kept them from the painful period as well. And so, they get to experience the joy of it. And for them, they don't care about, it's kind of cool to see mom and dad, be recognized at the airport or whatever. But for them, the really cool thing is the stories, is the impact, is the when they hear from their friends out of the blue that they love the show, or that we share with them the letters we get from people who've gone from death to life. That then becomes even more cool for them, because they saw not long ago when we were like, we have no clue what's going to happen next.
Well, at an age appropriate level, let's just include that. And that we weren't like telling them absolutely everything, but it was letting them in on some of the reasons we were making the decisions we were making and doing hard things. But I also wanted to say, just to be really honest about it, I could name the years where we had real marital struggle and got into counseling and we were surrounded. We were in a community, in a small group of people that we could be really transparent with. And so it's not that we just have made good choices. It's that we've had to go through the hard things, and we were in good community, and we got good teaching, and the Lord was really merciful. And so I think he allowed us to go through some of those really hard things. I know he did prior to the success of The Chosen, because I don't think we could have done this. I honestly don't think it's too hard. Yeah. And so the things that we've learned and through counseling and through community have allowed us to even be where we're at. And with the financial thing, and I wrestled on my face for like 2 months before we actually made the jump, because I was so scared. So that's the thing that I am really resistant to it ever looking too pretty, because that's unattainable. The truth is that God just met me on the floor so many times that when he then shows up later, it's that much sweeter. And then you're that much more able the next time to be like, okay, I'm not going to fall on the floor this time. Like, I've seen him show up in like the most dire things. So anyway, I wanted to make sure that was, just a part of the story, because that's the testimony of like, this stuff is hard, and it doesn't just come out pretty,
Beautiful. Gosh, thank you for sharing that, because it's really embracing the mess of life. But then, like you said, but you did that. You surrounded yourself with the right people, and you got counseling, and you got the things that you need so you could be the strong people, the strong marriage that you needed in order for the next season and the next step that God had for you. That's so encouraging.
And I think that's really important. People, that's what we try and communicate in our marriage devotional. It's what we try and communicate when we talk about it, because people see you guys up on the live stream, and on the silver screen now, goodness, and see us in the pulpit and think it must be easy. But it's like, no, there have been moments when we both looked at each other and we probably were like, are we going to make it? Is our marriage going to make it through this? And to hear you guys talk about, hey, there's months where we don't know how we're going to buy groceries, much less pay for a surgery. And is this, and those things, when it's metal on metal, and there has got to be the Holy Spirit's lubrication in those times.
Amen. So, amen.
Wow.
Yeah. When you guys went through your tragedy with your daughter, did you find during that time that it brought you closer together, or were there times when you were so in the mess that it actually was pulling you apart at times and you had to fight to get back together, locked in arms? Or did you find that it was just when it happened, it bonded you even closer? Or were there times when it was like, I don't think I can be a good husband right now, or wife, because I'm so confused?
Yeah, I think all of the above. I think it overall, brought us together, and we're stronger. Yeah. We're still married, and we love each other, and we like each other. But I think we went, at least on my side, I feel like I went through all of those emotions. And there were times where we were grieving together, and then times where we were grieving apart, and realizing that if one of us was doing good, it's okay that the other one wasn't doing good, and just trying to have grace with each other. And it was messy, and it was hard, and we didn't do it perfectly. And it was really messy, but it was also so beautiful. And the things that we were learning and growing in, like, God's just so kind and so faithful. And I think, like you said, like, we had people around us, and we have since then gotten counseling and just the tools that we need to prefer each other and love each other. And it's constant. It's a constant learning.
I think by and large, Dallas, to answer your question, it did push us into each other. We kind of committed. We're gonna fight through this together.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be days when you're off and I'm on. And there was one moment I think where Jennie was at a real low cratering point, and she's opened up about this before, so it's not like some revelation. But she's has since figured out she's got some low dopamine and serotonin things that coincide with her time of the month. And so figuring that out helped out a lot. But there were a couple times where once a month on clockwork, a week before she would produce an egg, where there would just be some really challenging storm clouds that would come in. And when that happens to her, she looks out at everything as bleak. And that's just a lens that she ends up looking through. And so figuring that out, figuring ourselves out, has helped a lot. But there were definitely some low lows. And yet I'm thankful. We're both thankful for all those hard days, because in the blessings when God puts, there's almost a unique challenge to those good times. Because as you guys have discovered, when there's more, there's more of everything. More of the good, but also more of the scrutiny, more of the praise, but more of the criticism, more of the opportunity, but more of the decisions of what are we going to do. So I think it's what you do in those hard times that you build the base that's going to keep you from, being destroyed by the praise, because there's plenty of people who have had their marriages wrecked by success, just as many as there are by failure.
Wow. That's good, Levi.
Yeah, that's really good. You should be a pastor.
Yeah, gosh. Well, let's talk, shifting gears a little bit, let's talk about reentry. Let's talk about what you do when the season finishes and you've kind of wrapped, and everyone, by the way, I love that on YouTube, every individual disciple and actor, they're getting wrapped for that season, and then like the celebration and euphoria and lifting up in the air. Okay, so now you're back home, and what does it look like to come down from the mountain and come back down into the trenches? Because that's usually when the devil shows up, right? That's when the demon-possessed man showed up coming down from the Mount of Transfiguration.
Yeah. So we used to be really bad at it. So I would come back.
That's true.
I would come back from filming or from a trip exhausted. And I might need a nap when I get in, or I might need to sleep in the next day. And, cause I'm like, I've been, working nonstop, or I'm jet lagged or whatever it is. And she had been even more exhausted from being with the kids alone, doing it all by herself, maybe not having as much adult conversation. So she's expecting me to walk in and make up for some lost time. Pour into the kids, pour into her, immediately start talking. Let's engage on a deeper level right away. And I would kind of pick up where I left off. Maybe it wasn't that I was walking in and going to fall asleep in my room, but I was coming in and just going, hey, how's it going? And hey, good to see the kids. And all right, I got to finish up some work now. And it was like I wasn't trying to compensate at all for the past week that I'd been gone. And so, or even if, and then I think from your end, you'd acknowledge that sometimes maybe I would come home doing pretty well and pouring in a little bit, but it didn't match your expectations. And you had expectations. I didn't meet them. And then instead of communicating that, you would just now be mad. And so that just happened.
Or I would try to not be mad, which always ends up boiling into a bigger mad.
That's so real. Thank you for saying that.
we just did poorly over and over and over again, and opportunities. And then I don't know if this is true of all women, but I've sensed that it's true of a lot of women. It seems like the day leading up to a trip and the day after a trip, it's like there's this rule of like, we better not even have a glimpse of an argument, because you're about to leave and this is sacred. This is like sacred time. And so like, I'm like, how is this any different than any other day? I'm not going to like change my entire personality just to accommodate this one day that's before a trip, and so I'm like, well, I'm still annoyed by this thing, but you're telling me I can't be because I'm leaving tomorrow.
Like, I can't believe it. I can't believe you're choosing to be annoyed at that one thing and you're about to leave it.
Yeah. This is the day before you leave. Don't you understand?
Nothing can be annoying.
Yeah, this is a safe space. So you can't be yourself. So that
still kind of rings true. I'm like, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
That makes sense.
So again, it was always unmet expectations. And that's, I think, we have a friend who's our kind of a therapist, counselor, one of the top counselors in the world. And a guy by the name of Garrett Higbee is amazing. And he would say, unmet expectations are like more than half of the reason that problems occur, arguments occur.
Gosh, that's so
you didn't understand me in the way I expected you to. I thought you would mow the lawn by 3 p.m. You did it at 5. I thought you'd be more gentle today because tomorrow's this way, but you were the same as it's whatever it is, and that goes both ways, male and female. So
I've got all this going on. Why are you not compensating and helping me out? Yeah, all that. Yeah.
How can you not know?
Yeah. Exactly. So. So later in season 3, we explore this with Simon and Eden, where
a lot of Simon and Eden
which is so cool because you have that portal because, Jesus wasn't married and even Paul down the road's like kind of comes across a little anti-marriage, which everybody was me, celibate. So it is really cool that we have the married disciples. So we do get to see the complexity of what it looks like to serve God within marriage.
Beautiful.
Right. So I remember we did a scene, we were filming the scene that happens like episode 5 or 6, I don't remember exactly, but season 3, but Simon comes home from another trip. This is when the disciples have been sent out 2 by 2 and they're gone and healing and casting out demons and all this stuff. They have, they're granted the authority from Jesus to do all these things. So Simon comes back and he's on a high from doing all this. But he's also exhausted from doing all that. And Eden says, so maybe you need a nap, and then we can hang. And he's like, oh, that's a great idea. All right, I'll go in to the room. She's like, now? You want a nap now? And he's like, yeah, but then that'll help me be so much more refreshed. And then maybe tonight we can, be together. And he's just fine. He goes, and then tomorrow, I want to tell you real quick. Tomorrow, the guys are coming over because we haven't seen each other in a long time. She's like, yeah, I know how that feels. He's like, brutal. Yeah, we haven't seen each other in a long time. We want to catch up, talk about it. So, and they love the others aren't married, so they love your bread. So if you could have that ready tomorrow, that'd be great. You're the best.
Cruising for a bruising.
Yeah. Oh, it's so many things.
You're the best because he's being nice. He's like, you're the best cook, so
best. He's the best.
So, awesome. And she's like, okay, I guess I could go to the store now. And gets the materials to make bread. He's like, oh, awesome.
Buy you nap.
Thank you,
Pick up some of that hummus that I like too while you're there.
Yeah. So he's like, awesome, this is great. And he goes to bed. She's like, have a nice nap, And then later, I think it's an episode or 2 goes by when it all comes out. When things,
she was doing that try not to be mad thing.
The credit card bill comes. The credit card bill comes. The Mentos and the Diet Coke.
And she hasn't been expressing why she's upset. So he's been trying to figure it out, and things get worse, and she's dealing with something she hasn't shared with him, so he doesn't know, and so he's trying to figure it out, and knocking over vases in the fog of war, and then finally it comes out, and he's like, I don't know what I've done wrong, and she says, you've done nothing, and he says, what? And she's like, you haven't done anything. You came back from your trip. You didn't ask me how I was. You didn't do anything. You just went and took a nap. He's like, you told me to take a nap. And she's like, because I was being considerate, and it's like, and everyone on the set. Yeah, exactly. So everyone on the set, all the guys, especially the guy holding the mic, the people on the camera were like, oh my gosh, they're in my home. Like, what's happening?
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, I know. This was written from personal experience because my co-writers aren't married. So you can guess who wrote this scene. But that was a kind of a mirror of the kinds of things we've experienced. Now, over time, we have gotten better, and we've laid out some ground rules, and we do what we call preventative maintenance.
Well, can I say real quick, what we had been doing for so long, like a good decade of our lives, was having kind of post-mortems, where you're like, okay, that was a bummer. That's not what we wanted. We wanted to come back together and have it be great. So what went wrong? And we would kind of do these post-mortems. And what we realized through counseling is a pre-mortem is more effective. It's like intentionally think through, what is it that you expect? Because some of it I didn't even know. Some of it I didn't know. I couldn't articulate until I spent time with it and thinking, what am I expecting of him when he gets back? And then it forced me to think of, he is so genuinely poured out. Like what he does in his job, it started to get me to think through what his days were like.
Wow.
And I had a growing compassion for him when I was preemptively thinking it through. And so we actually got to a place, it was kind of, it sounds so unconventional, but in our specific situation, I would start to say, take an extra day, wrap what you're doing, spend the weekend in the hotel sleeping.
Take an extra day on your trip.
On your trip.
I'd rather you take that
Come
extra
home
day.
rested and be fully home.
Wow.
Yeah, do what you need out of my sight, because I can't watch you take a nap after what I'm going through. But take your extra day, and then when you come home, I'm genuinely going to need you to be Superman.
Wow.
So like get yourself to a place where you can do that. So it was just little tricks. That's, that not necessarily applicable for everybody, but it was that pre-mortem that became revolutionary for us. And so we apply that a lot. Like, we're going to this place. We're going on vacation. What are we expecting of each other here? And not to a crazy clinical degree, but just being more aware that there are expectations in almost everything that you're not even aware of. So.
Yeah. And we once did a speaking engagement where we shared kind of what we would call our top 10 marital tips to love and, like, as you said, Jennie, like each other as well. For a vibrant marriage, not just a success, like not just a surviving marriage, but one that's actually vibrant and sexy and fun, and you like each other more than you did 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I would say if on the Mount Rushmore of things that we've experienced that we love passing on to people, 3 of those things would be pre-mortems, as opposed to post-mortems. Reminders in your phone. This is especially applicable to the dude, which is like set reminders in your phone for things like, words of affirmation or gifts, acts of service, or whatever it is. Like, I have a reminder in my phone that comes up once a week that just says love like Jesus loves. Just like a reminder to me of, okay, remember to sacrifice, to submit, to put yourself before others, all those kinds of things. But those kinds of reminders just pop up and go, oh yeah, okay. And then I'm going to text my wife now. And it's not extremely sexy and romantic that she knows that I have reminders on my phone. But over the course of time, like you don't think about that, and you still appreciate whatever it is that the act or verbal affirmation that you're doing.
Yeah, you're helping yourself win.
The third. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And then number 3 would be we call them drunk moments and sober moments. So, meaning, we call a drunk moment when you're in the middle of an argument, or when you're coming down from a problem, or
when you're mad, when you're in it.
Yeah, when you're still emotional, the engines are still kind of cooling down from the being revved up. And that's not the time when you create new boundaries and new rules of engagement. That's not the time when you solve problems. When you're sober and you've thought through things, you're in a good day. And this connects to the pre-mortem, but that's when you come up with the rules of engagement, and you can try to consider each other, and you go, okay, let's figure out how we're going to do reentry this time around.
Wow.
So that's all been extremely helpful.
That's
so
incredible.
When this season 3, which has been the most difficult time of filming in my entire career without a close second, we've been able to survive through it pretty well, because we've already established some of these rules of engagement and setting expectations.
That is brilliant, and thank you.
That is so helpful.
I'm not even going to pretend and say that's really going to be helpful for a friend I want to share that with later. That's just helpful for us. We've always said, don't make decisions in the middle of the storm. That's when we just keep batten down the hatches, keep going. Because in the middle of a fight, yes, you're right. Well, then never preaching out again, and no more books. And you tend to want to make drastic choices. But like you said, don't get a tattoo while you're drunk. You know what I mean? Like, wait till you're sober. So let the adrenaline, let all that come down. Then clearer heads prevail. You guys, those 3 things: pre-mortems, reminders. Look, if I had a reminder on my phone to tithe, that doesn't mean God's not like, oh, he had to remind himself to do that. It's like planning out your obedience, right? And then
good.
Don't make decisions drunk, make them sober. Obviously, don't get drunk is good too. But the fog of war is what you're referring to there.
Solid.
But everyone understands what you're saying.
Yeah.
Gosh, that is really, really hard fought wisdom that is going to be a blessing to everyone listening, and is to me and Jennie too.
Yeah. Now, Amanda, what helps you? So if you're home with the kids, it's probably different nowadays, but like, what helped you be ready for him. Obviously, if he stayed another night at a hotel or whatever, like that's helpful for him.
Which that's
coming
brilliant.
back.
I've never done that, by the way.
That is brilliant.
I just come home like on my last leg, like, and then she's like,
eye twitching.
And I thought that was a good thing. I used to say I'm making my trips as short as possible.
I took a red eye. I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. And she's like instead, from now on, instead of a 1-day trip, it's a 2-day trip, and I can deal with that. I mean, I can live with that. Now, sometimes we do overnighghts, and you have a speaking engagement. You fly in, you give the speaking engagement, you leave the next day.
Yeah.
For you,
you're not getting like extra vacation.
Yeah, for you and me, Levi. I mean, because obviously you've spoken, thousands of times more than I have, but that's easy. That's actually not a draining thing as much to go in, give your speaking engagement. You get to bed at a reasonable hour. You wake up, you fly back during the middle of the day. I don't need an extra day from that. We're talking about
war conditions on the set. Late days, as you put it, you're covered head to toe in sweat, being out there under the sun. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But but for you, Amanda, like things that you have found, like preparing for his return, like what has helped you more as you've learned this reentry, what helps you?
I mean, there's not a shortcut to it, really. Two things have helped me. The first is me learning to transfer expectations from him to the Lord. Like, it's the counsel that I got as a young married person and somewhat dismissed. It's the thing that you learn over time is the only thing that works. Like, some of the things I want from him, only the Lord can give me.
Wow.
Like, just the knowing what I'm feeling, knowing what I need. He just can't do that. So I've gotten better at telling him and feeling those other feels from the Lord, and abiding is just learning what that means over time. Because we have to learn how to do that. So that has become one of the things that works. But, the other one was something our counselor said that was so helpful, and I don't know if I can say it exactly the right way, but he was looking at us kind of battling, and he's like, you guys are each battling for ground. He's like, you're not realizing you're sharing the ground. Like, you're sharing the ground. So you're actually hurting yourself every time you're trying to take ground, because it's all the same ground. So you have to start seeing things as being, okay, we're a team. I have to be for you as I want you to be for me, because when I'm warring against you, I'm hurting me. So how can we share the ground here? And there was just something about that picture, because I'm a fighter. I just am. I'm always ready for a fight in my life. I don't know why I'm like that. We got a lot of pent up energy. And so I've had to just really learn, that's not for him. That's not what I want. That's not my heart. My heart is to come home and be on the same page and love the time together. That's my heart.
Yeah.
So it just took those two things. And so I think I would start to really ramp up my time with the Lord. Regular time is important, but also more time. Lord, this thing is coming. I know I'm bad at this thing. And I just need more grace and just the awareness.
Yeah.
I think it's all just being intentional and being aware and then taking that, to the Lord. I think it also helps, just bottom line, I get better at this as my kids get older. So having little kids that are just sucking you dry all day long, just energy.
Symbolically and actually when you're breastfeeding, by the way. Yes.
It's true. Yeah. And
Levi and I were thinking the same thing.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. But
Jennie used to always say, what's your big joke you would always say about breastfeeding?
I don't remember.
No, she always.
I said it in the fog of war.
Yeah, maybe you did. Maybe you didn't know you said it. Yeah, they sucked the life out of you, baby. You sucked the life out of my breast. Yes. Yeah, you used to say. Yeah. That's very funny.
In every way, they do. So I think littler kids and being alone morning, noon, and night is harder.
That is
than
so
having
true.
Bigger kids that you're spending time with at night and you're enjoying their company, and you can go out to a restaurant with them and not. We've gotten to be more on the friends side of things with our kids than on the constant parenting with our kids. So some of it's just organically easier now, but.
Yeah. Well, I remember a friend telling me, that they would, because they had little kids and then their husband was, gone a lot, and she would, especially right before he would come, get a babysitter and just kind of get ready.
Pamper her soul a little bit.
Kind of pamper her soul, and kind of what you were saying, just
That's
really amping up spending time with the Lord. And I think that knowing, and I think honestly, because for me, like I usually have a hard time even knowing what I need because I'm so like trying to figure things out that it's like, I don't even really know what I need. But actually, like you guys are saying, the pre-mortem probably includes that where you're like coming up into something, realizing what do I actually need here? And then taking steps, whether it is getting a babysitter, getting a massage, having coffee with a friend, where you are kind of getting the adult conversation or the time to yourself so that, like you said, you're not needing everything from your husband when he comes in. Those things are just so helpful, those practical things, but expectations, that's so life-changing. Thank you for sharing that.
I do want to say this has been one of the best marriage conversations we've ever had. Not even a really good close second, honestly, Dallas and Amanda, both of you. This is practical, actionable. We could just literally play this conversation for a church episode, honestly. and then just go home. No worship even, just the episode. And maybe we will. But I did want to, before we get off this, say how much I'm looking forward to a double date, by the way, in person. Maybe Chicago, maybe Dallas, doesn't even matter. It could be somewhere in between. But I did want some lightning round. And the lightning round is, first of all, what do we have to look forward to, Dallas, in your Instagram? We've gotten the skincare. I mean, these random things that just pop up out of nowhere that you're like, this is really helpful stuff.
Yeah. So this is one of the things about me that has proven to be both good and bad for Amanda is I'm pretty obsessive, and I get into like life hacks, and so and I also love I love sharing. I'm a big fan of like I found something out and you must know it too.
That's why you and Levi are such
we're cut from the same cloth, bro.
Seriously.
Yeah. Health and fitness tips, yes. Skincare tips for dudes. Sorry, it's not the most masculine thing in the world, but
you're helping
it just randomly pops up on your Instagram out of nowhere, and it's just like the most delightful post ever. By the way,
and we get
Levi, stop encouraging.
No, but I get people like Chosen fans will go, "Hey, when's your next Dallas tip coming out?" And I'm like, "Yes, I knew it mattered."
It matters. I see them. I love them. It's like a great white shark that's just breaching all of a sudden. It's like that's a joy, and then it's gone for a while.
More to come because I love it. Walking backwards is a big one, for example. Those kinds of things that you just learn and you go.
Such socially normal things that he does. This is real. He has a cold tank on our driveway.
Cold water, ice cold water.
Cold plunge, cold tank on our driveway.
Is it plumbed or do you put ice in it?
No, it's a whole. It's got a chiller. It's a whole thing.
Oh yeah, I have one too.
I saved up and did it right.
What brand do you have? No, not that we're supporting. Renew.
RENU.
Okay, so mine's iCool Sport out of Australia.
Okay.
Awesome. Back to the mockery. So our backyard wasn't ready yet. And so I was saying, hey, let's just wait until like the space that is for this thing is ready. And he was like, no, now I need this thing now in my life. And so he's on our driveway and he just in the middle of the day with like people just gets in this cold tank. It's so weird. People don't know what he's doing. He's a big, almost naked man in our driveway. And I'm like, that's so socially weird, but like all for the hack, all for the life hack. It's all.
Dallas,
my gosh. Dallas, you and Levi.
A game changer for our family.
Yeah.
The health benefits are.
Do they all go in it? Does everybody get in it now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We do too. Okay, so.
And we invite friends over and they dread knowing they're getting invited over because we always say bring a bathing suit and the night ends with the tub.
Yes. And all of them, cast crew, come over and they all dread it and they get in the first minute. They can barely breathe. I teach them how to, Wim Hof breathing. We get through it. And then they finish and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to do this
and
again.
They get one.
You sleep better. You have less anxiety.
Guys.
Have you gotten Jesus in the cold bath yet?
Yeah. His name is Jonathan Levi. He's not actually Jesus.
I understand. I'm just saying.
Very important.
I need footage. I need footage of Jonathan in the cold bath. That's what I need.
Footage exists. I don't know that it was.
Pretty sure it won't be released.
But
did he hyperventilate or did he take it like a champ?
No, he hyperventilated. He said the first minute. He said to me later. He goes, "I was thinking." Not only do I not know how people have done this, I don't know how they survived it. Like how do people actually do this?
I'm gonna die
because he's got the metabolism and the kind of the body fat of a squirrel. So
gosh. Well, some people who you think are going to freak out are calm, and some people you think are going to be calm freak out. Okay, lightning round, and then you're
very well. I mean, he got through it, but he got through it. But
each of you, who do you see yourself most in the cast when you're watching The Chosen? Who is there a person on the cast you're like, man, I feel like that's me?
They're all, and I've answered this question many times because and I mean it honestly, there's bits of me in all of them, so I can't, it's like picking my child. So the marriage stuff is the most personal, both Simon and Eden. But they're all kind of got bits and pieces of me. I think you identify most with Simon.
Yeah, what's funny is he writes based on me. I identify with Eden, but I'm most like the train wreck of Simon.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. I'm going to say I'm definitely Matthew. So I'm glad you wrote that weird character into the show because I have a home now.
Yes.
Oh, it's awesome.
Good.
Okay, Jennie?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. Well, you guys, there's more to come, and there will come, but we got to release you to the next thing that God has for you.
We love you guys. Thank you so much for...
Well, I want to tell people real quick, this is not even a shameless plug. So the third devotional book, we asked you, Levi, to write the foreword for, and like you spun out gold in like a few minutes.
Yeah.
And send it back to us. And I'm like, oh, Levi sent back his forward. That was quick. And we are both crying through it. It's a beautiful, beautiful forward. In and of itself, it's got value. But yeah, it's the Chosen Devotional. It's 40 Days with Jesus. And it corresponds with season 3. But your gold nugget at the beginning is just as valuable.
Like our favorite part.
And so yeah, and people have really been blessed by it, by your forward, by the book itself. This is really our heart. That and the Bible study is where ultimately the end game is with the show.
Thank you for letting me be part of it, you guys. It's an honor.
Yeah.
The release is in 2 days, 17, 18 from today when people are listening to this, November 18th. Go to the movie theaters, get a ticket. Where can they go to get all those information for all the things chosen?
Well, you just look up The Chosen. I mean, there's so many websites and apps where you can get information. But if you just look up your local movie theater, you'll find the movie times. It's in almost most movie theaters in the country.
Okay, I'm going to say this like I said it just yesterday when I was speaking. Dallas, you, Amanda, both of you have given Gen Z and following what Eugene Peterson gave us 30 years ago when he wrote The Message.
Yeah.
You've given us on screen a relatable, accessible entry point into the scriptures.
Yes.
And I bless you for it.
Amen.
We commend you for it.
Amen.
And I think when we're in heaven, we're going to be looking back on multiplied millions upon millions upon millions of people, just like The Message that was an on-ramp into it that you guys have given. So thank you for your yes. And we bless you for it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. And thank you guys. We love you. We've loved your ministry. We're going to do some things together in the future because we want to.
We've decided it.
Yeah. I don't know if you knew that, but
cold plunges. We'll start with the cold plunge.
We'll start with the cold plunges. Gosh.
But yeah, we've got plenty to do together in the future to help people know and love Jesus more and to help us know and love Jesus more.
All right. We'll stick together. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. And be sure to swing by levilusko.com to see what's going on in our world and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. In the meantime, we would love to connect with you on social media. Jennie and Levi Lusko, out.